Hi everybody, it is Reggie's cooking time. So today I am going to make Drummond's Salisbury steak. And I have my frying pan here ready and all the ingredients, as I usually do, on my counter. So you're going to start off with 1.5 pounds of ground beef. I use lean ground beef, 93.7. A half a cup of seasoned breadcrumbs. 2 tablespoons of heavy cream, 2 teaspoons of dry mustard. I'm going to use just regular mustard because I can't find dry. 4 dashes of Worcestershire sauce. I just kind of went like this here, and I like Worcestershire sauce. 1 tablespoon of ketchup, a half a teaspoon of kosher salt. I'm just using regular salt. A half a teaspoon of black pepper. 1 tablespoon of olive oil and 1 tablespoon of butter. Now the olive oil and the butter are for when you're frying them. So let's start mixing it together. Worcestershire sauce, breadcrumbs, not dry mustard, but just yellow mustard. My ketchup, or catsup, however you want to say it. And I didn't have heavy cream, but it does call for heavy cream, so I'm just using 2 tablespoons of just whole milk. And in here, I have a bouillon cube that is in hot water, just so it starts to pull apart. And you're just going to mix it really well. And I'm going to get in here on my hands, so I'll show you in a minute when I'm back. I'm back. So what I have done is I have made 3 little patties, and I have some olive oil, so I'm going to dredge some olive oil in my pan. It calls for a tablespoon. And it also calls for a tablespoon of butter. And I am using real butter. And I'm just measuring it out to what I think is 1 tablespoon. And so I'm just waiting for the pan to heat up here. And I am going to do these because I have a smaller pan. I am going to do these in sections. So I think I'll have enough for 9. Now in the cookbook, she makes them fairly large because if you know Drummond, she has a bigger family. And so, plus the hands that she uses, has. So I'm just waiting for the olive oil and the butter to get hot. But I have my burgers right here, my steaks. So they're about a handful. And I did add salt and pepper to this while I was off the camera. And I just shook until I thought it was going to be good. I didn't measure the salt and pepper. And I have this on about an 8 for my oven. And I'm just going to wait until it gets a little hotter so that it kind of starts rolling so that I know that it's hot. And it's about there. So I'm going to start putting these in one at a time. And because I am also going to make a sauce with this and keep it on the stove for about half hour with the sauce, I am not going to cook them all the way, just enough to see that they are nice and brown on each side. Let me go ahead and do this, finish them up, and I will be back. Thank you so much for waiting. So I have the last 3 steaks put in a cake pan, a cake dish, because I'm going to bake them. Because my pan is not big enough. So I'm going to do about 350 for about 20 minutes. So what I have done with my pan, I am going to use the the stuff that came off the hamburgers to go in my pan with my onions. And so I'm going to add a little bit more of olive oil just to get them fried up just a little bit. And so just frying up the onions, yummy, yummy, yummy. Just until they get a little bit brown. See, I have the bits in there, and they're just a little bit brown, and that's how I want them. And then I'm going to add 2 1/4 cups of beef stock to my onions, and it calls for 4 dashes of Worcestershire sauce. 2, 3, 4. That should be good enough. Calls for 1 tablespoon more of ketchup. And if you don't know what a tablespoon is, just go ahead and use a tablespoon. I like to just dump it in there and see how it works. And I have my little whisk, and this whisk won't hurt the pan. So I'm just making just a sauce to go over them while they bake in the oven. And if you don't know the exact timing that you want to put them in the oven for, you can certainly just use a pan and just do them in, make sure that the hamburgers are all done, and then just put the sauce over them. So I'm just waiting with this. I'm going to put a little bit of salt. You do not have to, because the beef broth is going to have quite a bit of salt. And a little bit of pepper. And it does call for some cornstarch. So it's kind of like a roux. So obviously that was not how you do it. And then you just make, the cornstarch just makes it a little bit thicker. And you're going to not want to put the cornstarch in that way, but obviously I did. And then just stir it up until you notice that it's starting to get thick. And you're going to want to take some of the broth out and put in with your cornstarch and mix it up like you do for a turkey roux, just so it doesn't get any lumps in it. And you'll know when your roux is about ready. It'll just get a little thicker. This I'm going to leave on the not so thick side, because I know if I put any more in, it's going to mess it up. Any more cornstarch. So I'll leave the cornstarch. And we have our pan here. I'm going to turn off the oven. And just pour the sauce over it, because again, I am going to put it in the oven. And I am going to get some foil to put on it. Alright, so I put it in the oven. I'm going to check it in about a half hour just to make sure it's nice and bubbly and stuff. I'll make some mashed potatoes, maybe do some broccoli. And it's a really good meal. So again, so it's 1.5 pounds of lean ground beef, 1/2 cup of seasoned breadcrumbs, 2 tablespoons of heavy cream, 2 tablespoons of dry mustard. I use just regular mustard, and I used whole milk instead of the cream. 1 beef bouillon cube crumbled, 4 dashes of Worcestershire sauce, 1 tablespoon of ketchup, 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, and then to fry the steaks in, you'll use a tablespoon of olive oil and a tablespoon of butter. Now for the gravy, you're going to want 1/2 of an onion, halved and thinly sliced, 2 1/4 cups of beef broth, 4 dashes of Worcestershire sauce, 1 tablespoon of ketchup, it says 1 teaspoon of kitchen bouquet browning sauce. I didn't use any. It is optional. 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, and kosher salt and black pepper to taste. And so as always, I will show a picture when it is completely done in about a half hour. Enjoy. Thank you so much for joining me for Reggie's cooking time. I hope you have a blessed evening, and I will talk to you soon.